You know, you sent us an incredibly dense stack of sources today, and I have to say I've been completely obsessed with it all week.
Oh, I'm so glad. It really is a remarkable collection of material.
It really is. We're looking at this bizarre mix of, well, historical records, some translated occult police files, and this esoteric text known as the Phlegraean Songs.
Right. And it's a lot to sift through.
Yeah, exactly. And your mission for us, the reason we're doing this custom deep dive for you today, is to basically piece together the haunting, almost unbelievable events of October 1997.
Which is when everything really comes to a head.
Exactly. We are tracking what happens when 2,500 years of delayed history finally, catches up to the surface world.
Yeah, and usually when we think of history, we like to imagine it neatly categorized. You have your ancient Rome file, your 19th century Europe file.
Nice and tidy.
Right. It's comforting to believe the past stays exactly where we put it. But the geography we are exploring today completely shatters that illusion.
Oh, completely, because we are starting in Naples, and if you've ever been to Naples or even just looked at the geological maps in the files you sent, this is not a city built on history singular.
No, not at all.
That would be way too easy. Naples is built on histories, plural, and they are constantly quarreling.
It's a very physically layered place.
Yeah, you've got Greek stone directly under Roman stone, Roman tombs hiding beneath medieval churches, which are, sitting right under modern apartment blocks with laundry hanging out the windows.
And bones stacked in chapels.
Right. And beneath all of it, volcanoes sleeping very, very badly.
Which creates this fascinating psychological and geographic reality. Because a city layered that deeply doesn't just forget its past. It misplaces things.
It misplaces things. I love that phrasing.
Yeah, it drops them into the cracks between eras.
And what your sources show us is that the things Naples misplaces aren't just old coins or broken pottery. We are talking about a city that puts an ancient king under a lake.
A literal king.
Right. A city that hides a living, breathing prophetess in a glass bottle for millennia. A city that takes 2 magical leaves of ancient palm and just files them away in a mundane police archive.
Just normal bureaucratic filing.
Yeah. It lets ordinary people call these things accidents or, administrative errors because humanity is just a lot happier when the supernatural respects standard office hours.
But the supernatural rarely does.
Yeah.
And I think that brings us to the inciting incident of the 1997 timeline.
The phone call.
Yes, the moment the past demands to be remembered begins with a late-night phone call from a man named Philodeme.
So let's establish who we are dealing with here, because looking at the notes he sent, this isn't a normal group of friends.
Not at all.
Philodeme is an immortal. He serves this ancient faction known as the Arcane of the High Priestess, and he is a man who absolutely hated telephones.
He considered them an insult to mystery.
Yeah. But on this specific night, he uses one. He calls 3 of his associates, 3 Nephilim scattered across Europe.
And we should probably briefly contextualize that term, Nephilim, for you listening, because these aren't angels with wings.
Right, not the biblical definition.
Exactly. In the reality of the Phlegraean Songs, Nephilim are essentially immortal beings who wear modern human lives like well-tailored suits.
I really love how their human covers contrast with their actual ancient reality.
That's very striking.
Like you have Ariane in Paris, living as a French lecturer with severe glasses and a cigarette habit. She's promised 3 doctors she'd quit.
A very grounded, mundane detail.
Yeah. Then you have Corvin, who works in private security consulting, which, reading between the lines of your sources, basically means he's a guy who can break into a high-security building without being noticed and leave without apologizing.
He's the muscle, but subtle.
Right. And then you have Miro, living as a travel photographer, though the files note he rarely photographs anything as innocent as a sunset.
Right. Their passports have modern names, but their older names belong to dead languages. So when Philodeme's voice comes through the wire-thin, breathless, backed by the noise of Naples traffic, he doesn't waste a single syllable.
He gets right to the point.
He tells them, "Come to Naples, tonight if you can, tomorrow if you must. I have found the gate of the Underworld."
Now, hold on. If a friend calls you and says that, you probably think they've lost their mind.
Of course you would.
It's like someone calling you in a panic, but instead of needing a ride from the airport, they've stumbled into the literal myth of Orpheus. So why do Ariane, Corvin, and Miro just immediately pack their bags? Why do they believe him?
Well, it's because of the context of Naples in the 1980s and 90s. Philodeme had stayed in the city long after wiser immortals had fled.
It was dangerous.
Very. Naples had become too crowded with enemies, too full of ancient traps and modern police. Philodeme himself compared the city to a room where everyone is holding a knife. But no one has yet chosen the hour to strike.
Wow.
So when he says he found the gate, they know the hour has struck.
And unfortunately for Philodeme, that hour was fatal.
Yes, it was.
Ariane grabs the next flight. Corvin packs a knife in a diplomatic pouch that is definitely not diplomatic. Miro brings his camera and false press cards. And by midnight, they are standing in Piazza Dante in Naples.
It's a very atmospheric scene.
It really is. It's wet from recent rain. The statue of the poet Dante is looking out over late-night taxis. And 3 minutes past midnight, Philodeme arrives. But he's bleeding out. He's been stabbed by assassins.
And Corvin's immediate reaction is entirely tactical. He just asks, who did this?
Which is such a Corvin thing to ask.
Exactly. And Philodeme's response is so telling of the immortal experience. He tries to smile and says, everyone.
Oh, that's heavy.
It's a tragic acknowledgement of their reality.
It really is. He's dying in the gutter, and his very last act is to thrust a black cardboard folder into Ariane's hands.
The central artifact.
Yeah. Inside this folder are 2 broken, fragile strips of palm leaf, covered in cramped Greek letters. And Philodeme whispers a final cryptic clue. He says, the square, Dante, the 33rd song.
And then he dies.
Right there. The immortal who outlived Rome bleeds out next to a taxi stand in 1997, and the 3 Nephilim are forced to run for their lives into the labyrinth of Naples, clutching this black folder.
And this folder sets the immediate stakes for the entire deep dive.
It does.
When they finally evade the assassins and open the folder under the yellow light of a church portico, Ariane looks at the leaves. And the source text beautifully describes how the text doesn't just sit there.
Right.
It actively reads her soul to decide if she's worthy of understanding it.
Wait, I really want to dig into the mechanics of that, because you sent us this concept of a protected text, and it's wild. What does it actually mean that it reads her soul? Are the letters physically moving around on the leaf?
No, it's not a cheap physical magic trick.
Okay.
The physical eye is only the first lock. A human looking at it would just see broken, incomprehensible Greek words. But for Ariane, an ancient being, it's as if something older inside her opens the second lock.
So it's a mental shift.
Exactly. It's a shift in perception. Magic in this world is not a neutral tool. It is deeply prejudiced. It responds to the metaphysical weight of the being interacting with it.
Miro's reaction to this is so relatable to me. He literally flinches away and says, I hate sentences that know who is reading them.
It's a very human reaction.
It's incredibly invasive if you think about it. Imagine reading a book and realizing the book is simultaneously auditing your personality to see if you're allowed to read the next chapter.
It is deeply unsettling.
Yeah.
But the text she unlocks reveals 4 concepts: lake, descent, Orpheus, return.
Okay.
And to understand why these specific leaves demand a non-human reader, and why fanatics were willing to kill Philodeme for them in a modern Italian square, we actually have to pause the 1997 narrative.
We have to go back.
We have to go back to the mountains of ancient Greece, long before Rome was an empire.
Right, because if we want to understand this map, we have to understand the architect of the trap that it leads to.
Exactly.
So we are going way, way back. We're talking about a young woman living in the freezing Greek mountains who frightened very powerful men simply by telling them the truth. They called her the Sibyl.
And we should clarify, Sibyl is an office.
Right, it's not her name.
It's a title, not her birth name. As the Phlegraean Songs note, first names are for mothers, lovers, and graves. The world remembered only the office.
That's a stunning line.
It really is. She sat among the stones, and kings climbed mountains just to hear her speak.
But I want to be clear about what she was actually doing. She wasn't, cold reading these kings.
Yeah.
She wasn't just highly observant or doing card tricks. The text says she had a soul that was fundamentally altered. She had this strange inner sun, a burning solar fire inside her. And that fire is literally what allowed her to see the future.
Precisely. It was a tangible, burning burden. And she saw the future of a city that barely existed yet. Yes. She saw Rome before Rome even understood what it was going to become. She saw the roads, the wars, the bronze-beaked ships, and the sheer arrogance of a city convincing itself it had been chosen by eternity.
But having that kind of power makes you incredibly isolated.
Utterly alone.
Kings only visited her because they wanted to use her as a geopolitical tool. And that loneliness is exactly what makes her vulnerable when a man who calls himself Shamash walks up her mountain.
And Shamash introduces himself as a merchant from the east. He wears that lie flawlessly. He brings her amber, wine, a silver mirror,
Normal merchant things.
right? Then he brings conversation, and finally he brings his pitch.
And his pitch is a masterclass in manipulation. If you're trying to con a powerful prophetess, you don't offer her money.
She doesn't care about money.
No, you offer her an exit strategy. He tells her she doesn't have to spend her entire life being a tool for fearful kings who confuse their own anxiety with wisdom. He offers her freedom from that cycle.
He offers her eternity of the body. Now, the Sibyl eventually sees through his disguise. She realizes he isn't a god, and he isn't a demon either, though humans would later use that word just to cover up their ignorance.
Right.
Shamash is a Solenim.
Okay, let's unpack that term. A Solenim. He is a creature of black moon fire, exquisite, ancient, and incredibly hungry.
Very hungry.
And the trade he's offering is this. He will give her life without end in exchange for that inner solar fire that gives her the power of prophecy.
Now, you have to ask yourself, why would a woman who can literally see the future accept a bargain with a creature made of dark, hungry fire?
That's exactly what I was thinking when I read this. It seems like the ultimate toxic mortgage.
It really does.
We're signing away your greatest asset to a shadow creature? If she can see the future, shouldn't she see this as a terrible idea?
It's a brilliant question.
Yeah.
But the text suggests that she didn't take the deal because she was tricked.
Oh!
No. She took it because mortality itself was the monster she feared more. She looked at the brief, brutal span of a human life. A life spent serving warlords until she died of cold or disease on a rock. And she chose the alternative. The bargain was monstrous, yes, but so was mortality.
And the most tragic part is that, for a time, she actually loved him.
She did.
Shamash drank the solar fire of prophecy out of her soul and replaced it with his own cold nature. Her visions faded, her body survived, the years passed, and she didn't die.
But then we hit the flaw in the contract. The flawlessly cruel loophole.
The fine print.
Exactly. She didn't die, but she aged.
Can you imagine the sheer horror of that realization?
It's unimaginable.
You're immortal, but you notice a line on your face. Then your joints start to ache. Then your eyesight dims. He promised life eternal, but he never promised youth.
When she confronts him about this, Shamash answers with the cold logic of a creature who understands the letter of a contract far better than the concept of mercy.
Right.
He tells her he gave her exactly what she asked for. He just didn't give her what she meant.
Classic demonic fine print. So she leaves him. She walks away, but before her prophetic fire completely burns out, she writes down 9 books.
The sibling books.
Right. And these volumes are filled with the fate of Rome. Years later, she takes these books to the court of Tarquin the Proud, the last king of Rome.
And she offers him the 9 books for a massive sum of gold. Tarquin, being an arrogant king, refuses.
He thinks she's crazy.
Yeah. So the Sibyl, who was absolutely done compromising with men in power, just throws 3 of the priceless books into a fire.
She just burns them.
She burns them. Then she looks at Tarquin and offers the remaining 6 for the exact same price.
I love this level of stubbornness. It's amazing.
It's very dramatic.
But Tarquin refuses again, so she throws 3 more into the fire. Now there are only 3 left. And it's only at this point that she reveals what these final 3 books actually contain.
Because they don't just contain Rome's future?
No. They contain the path of Orpheus into Hades. They are the literal, magical blueprint of how a living soul can enter the underworld and return.
And that completely changes the calculus for Tarquin. He buys them immediately.
Because of course he does.
Right, because powerful men always believe there is a hidden door somewhere that will let them remain powerful forever. Tarquin wants to conquer death.
But hold on, I have to push back here. Tarquin just watched this woman burn 6 priceless books of prophecy out of sheer spite.
True.
She clearly resents him. Why on earth would he trust a map given to him by someone who hates him?
Because arrogance is a phenomenal blinder.
I guess so.
Tarquin doesn't view the Sibyl as a person with agency. He views her as a vendor. He believes his own royal authority protects him. He believes having the map is the same as mastering the territory.
But as your sources show us, having the blueprints to a prison doesn't mean the warden is going to let you walk out the front door.
Not at all.
Tarquin makes his descent. He walks to the edge of Lake Avernus, this perfectly round, dark, volcanic crater west of Naples.
A very foreboding place.
Yeah, it had a terrifying reputation. Birds supposedly wouldn't fly over it. It was viewed as a place where death was just a country you could walk into. So Tarquin walks down into the door.
He descends successfully.
Yeah.
But this is where the consequences of the Sibyl's past catch up to him.
Shamash.
Yes. Shamash, the Phlegraean, is still nursing the wound of the Sibyl leaving him. He is still obsessed with the version of her who once loved him. So to exact his revenge on her and on the king who bought her books, Shamash creates an architectural masterpiece of magical spite.
Explain to me how this works, because the imagery in the notes is wild.
It's very surreal.
He builds an entire illusionary kingdom, a perfect floating mirror of ancient Cumae white temples, colonnades, blue air, and he hangs this magical paradise upside down right above the surface of Lake Avernus. But how does a floating illusion physically stop a king from walking back up a tunnel?
Well, it's a great distinction. In the logic of Phlegraean magic, Black Moonfire isn't just a hologram.
Okay.
It's an assertion of a new reality. Shamash overwrites the physical space of the exit with his own dimension.
Oh, I see.
The metaphysical weight of that illusion is so dense that it creates a spatial lock. It's essentially a cork in the bottle. Tarquin went down, but when he tries to ascend, his path intersects with an impossible geometry. He is physically trapped in Hades.
Wow. So the king is missing, and his followers, an occult faction known as the Mysteries of the Orient, are furious. But they are human. They can't break Shamash's blockade because human magic can't touch a solenum.
Exactly. So they do what frustrated, powerless factions so often do in history.
Just lash out.
They find a scapegoat. They can't punish the powerful, guilty party Shamash, so they punish someone weaker. They blame the Sibyl.
And the punishment they inflict on her is genuinely one of the most horrifying things in this entire deep dive.
It's very grim.
Remember, she is immortal, but she is still aging. By
Yeah.
this point, her body is a visible nightmare. She has shrunk down to impossible, tiny proportions. She's almost entirely blind. The only reason she is alive is because the demonic contract forces her heart to keep beating. So the Mysteries take this tiny ancient woman and they stuff her into a glass bottle.
They turn the woman who foresaw the Roman Empire into a grotesque spectacle.
It's awful.
They put the bottle on public display. Children would come up to the glass and ask her what she wanted, and she would answer with the only wish she had left: to die.
Just devastating. Eventually, centuries pass. The bottle is moved from public display into a hidden dark chamber beneath a stone bench in Cumae.
Left to rot,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah. Rome rises, Rome burns, Naples inherits all these dead secrets, and the Sibyl just stays in the dark. A rumor trapped under a stone bench for over 2 millennia.
And while the Sibyl waited in the dark, suffering in a state of suspended decay, the map to Hades, those surviving palm leaves from the Sibylline books, they bounced through the turbulent centuries of human history.
Let's look at how these leaves survived, because the trail they leave is fascinating.
It really is a journey.
In the year 671, there was a massive fire on the Capitoline Hill in Rome that burned the last remaining bound Sibylline books. But 2 loose pages survived. Why? Because Tarquin had coded them in his own protective magic before he descended.
Right. The text wryly notes that men who plan journeys into hell usually remember to ensure their maps.
Which is such a great line.
It's perfect.
So the Mysteries of the Orient, the descendants of Tarquin's original followers, recover these 2 leaves. They treat them as holy relics. They keep them in golden boxes, constantly shifting them around to keep them safe, until they hide them in Naples.
Specifically in the Chapel of San Severo.
Yes. If you've never seen photos of the San Severo Chapel, look it up. It's famous for statues where the marble is carved so delicately it looks like transparent netting.
It's a gorgeous place.
The leaves sit there quietly until 1980. That's when a massive earthquake hits Naples. The ground shakes, walls split open, and in the damaged chapel, a secret stone compartment pops open, revealing the golden boxes.
Now, a geologist sees an earthquake, but the Mysteries of the Orient see a supernatural communication.
They read into it.
Exactly. They believe Tarquin, trapped below for thousands of years, is angry. They think he stirred chthonic underground forces to remind his servants that their king is still waiting to be rescued.
But wait, this is the part that blows my mind. The Mysteries have guarded this map for centuries, but they are entirely human.
Yes.
So when they look at the map, they just see gibberish, right? What is the point of a fanatical cult guarding a map they literally cannot read?
That is the central, humiliating irony of their existence. Their devotion is absolute, but their biology is wrong.
Wow.
The magic protecting the text only recognizes certain kinds of magical beings. To actually read the map, they need Nephilim eyes. which leads to the incredibly convoluted trap of 1983.
Okay, yes, the 1983 trap. The Mysteries know they need the Nephilim to read the leaves, so they orchestrate this elaborate setup.
Very elaborate.
They take an old apartment building, formerly used by the Red Brigade's terrorist group, which is scheduled for demolition. The Mysteries plant a steel box containing the palm leaves inside the building, arranging for it to be discovered by the police.
It's a high-level game of occult chess.
It is.
They expect the Nephilim to monitor police activity, notice this bizarre artifact, break into the evidence room, steal the leaves, translate them, and inadvertently reveal the route to Hades.
It's brilliant. It's a perfect plan. And it gets completely derailed by a mid-level bureaucrat named Commissioner Capaldo.
It's almost comical. Commissioner Capaldo is a fascinating anomaly in this sweeping mystical war.
He really is.
He is a bachelor cop, outwardly mundane, but secretly a closet occultist. And, crucially, he is an opportunistic thief when the target looks scholarly enough.
He's the ultimate wild card. Before the ancient, immortal Nephilim agents can swoop in and take the bait, Capaldo just walks into his own precinct's evidence room and pockets the leaves for his personal collection.
He ruins everything.
He does. And the Nephilim are too embarrassed to admit they were beaten to the punch by a mortal cop, so they lie to the Mysteries and claim they secured the treasure.
And the Mysteries believe them. The result is a 14-year stalemate.
A very long staring contest.
Exactly. Two ancient, incredibly powerful factions spend over a decade locked in a tense standoff over an empty box, both completely thwarted by a guy who just liked collecting weird old manuscripts in his apartment.
I was trying to think of a way to describe how Capaldo hid these files from two immortal factions. It's like he open-sourced the encryption.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
Right. He didn't lock the files in a titanium safe. He just misnamed the file folder and dropped it into a bureaucratic server of 10 million identical files. Bureaucracy was his firewall.
That's a perfect analogy. Capaldo tries and fails to translate them and then quietly dies of heart failure in 1997. His worldly possessions are put up for auction.
Yeah.
And right there in the auction catalog, nestled between police medals and old furniture, is the listing Greek manuscript. Incomprehensible.
Which brings us right back to 1997, to Philodeme seeing the listing, stealing the leaves, and getting murdered for it.
The timeline connects.
Yes. So now, Ariane, Corvin, and Miro have the leaves. They are hiding in a safe room above the street. Corvin sleeps for 20 minutes with a gun across his knees. Miro can't sleep at all.
The tension is very high.
And Ariane spends the night with dictionaries, a copy of Dante's Divine Comedy, and the palm leaves.
Right, because she realizes Philodeme didn't die in Piazza Dante by accident. He was leaving a breadcrumb.
The dying clue.
Yes, the square, Dante.
Yeah.
The 33rd song. Miro guesses it's because every taxi driver knows the square. But Ariane knows better. Philodeme was referencing a specific piece of literature.
And your brain immediately goes to Dante's Inferno, right? Because we're talking about the underworld.
Naturally.
But Philodeme meant the final canto of Paradise. Ariane recites it from memory as snow loses its form beneath the sun, as the Sibyl sentence was lost on light leaves in the wind.
Corvin is inherently suspicious about this.
Yeah.
He thinks it's too neat a coincidence.
He doesn't trust it.
No, but Ariane points out that old conspiracies are often neat because they have had centuries to arrange themselves perfectly.
That makes sense.
The literary breadcrumbs lead from Dante to Virgil, and Virgil leads directly to the ancient city of Cumae, the home of the Sibyl.
But before they can rush off to Cumae, they need to know what Commissioner Capaldo knew, which kicks off this fantastic sequence of procedural spycraft.
Yes, the investigation phase.
First, they try the legal route at the Villa Floridiana auction house, but privacy laws protect the buyer info. So Corvin does what Corvin does best. He breaks in.
And the infiltration is described so casually in the text, he just drops a folder on the table later and notes that the guards are on an 11-minute rotation and the alarm in the archive window is ornamental.
I laughed at that part. Miro asks if that means it's broken, and Corvin just says, that means Italian.
It adds a nice bit of levity.
It does. Corvin's heist gets them Capaldo's home address. They go to the apartment and meet his grieving niece, Antonella.
She's sorting through her late uncle's underwear and police files.
Yeah, and suddenly, 3 intense foreigners show up asking about occult manuscripts. She calls her uncle's collection nonsense.
But Ariane strips away the polite pretense. She tells Antonella the blunt truth. Her uncle possessed an object that people are actively killing for.
Which is a hell of a thing to hear about your uncle.
It shifts Antonella from annoyance to genuine alarm, and she lets them read Capaldo's private diary.
And the diary reveals Capaldo's journey. He hid his own useless typed translation, and the official police file deep in the precinct archive misfiled under a random case from March 1952.
Because, as the source text brilliantly notes, bureaucracies are labyrinths designed by people pretending not to be minotaurs.
Such good writing. This forces the Nephilim to execute a midnight heist at the police commissariat near Castel Capuano.
They use a three-pronged approach for this.
Right. Miro uses forged documents to create bureaucratic confusion at the front desk, Corvin picks a rear door, and Ariane just walks in unchallenged amidst the chaos.
It's very efficient. They find the 1952 box. Inside is Capaldo's typed translation. And if you read it as a normal human, it sounds like absolute gibberish.
Oh, totally. It says, a path without path, a singer without throat, a boat in the middle of a lake, a return barred by a false city. It means nothing.
Right. Ariane reads it normally and understands nothing. But then she shifts her perception again.
Here we go.
She reads it with a part of her soul that remembers fires older than Rome.
Which, again, I want to visualize this. It's like looking at a magic eye poster, but instead of your eyes crossing, your soul remembers a primordial language.
Exactly. The cipher's unlocked. She realizes the lake is Avernus. The singer is Orpheus. The descent into Hades is real. But the return is blocked by a false city. A city where no city should be.
But there is a chilling realization as they leave the police archive. They find evidence that the Mysteries deliberately planted the leaves in 1983.
Right. They see they were played.
And as they slip out of the building, they notice they're being watched. But the Watchers don't move into attack.
Which is the scariest part.
If the people who murdered your friend are watching you but not attacking you, it means they want you to lead them somewhere. The Mysteries no longer need to steal the palm leaves. They just need to follow the Nephilim to the gate.
This realization drives our trio west from Naples into the Phlegraean fields. They arrive at Cumae.
The home of the Sibyl.
Yes. Today, Cumae is an archaeological site. It has that sad politeness of a place trying to explain its own ancient depth to tourists who just want to snap a photo.
It's very sanitized now.
They walk into the Sibyl's ancient gallery, a long, angular corridor cut through stone. It looks empty.
But Ariane looks past the physical stone and sees the magical currents. Most of the geometry is dead, but under a stone bench on the right side, she sees a knot of old power pulsing like a heart that forgot it was supposed to stop beating.
Corvin knocks on the stone, hears it's hollow, and forces the hidden niche open.
What they find inside is pure horror. It's a glass bottle, 50 centimeters long, wrapped in brittle cloth.
And inside?
Inside is a tiny, shriveled, folded creature. Her skin is dark with age, her eyes are milky and furious. Miro whispers, asking if it's a homunculus, an artificial being, and Ariane quietly replies, no, the woman we came to find.
Imagine if you were walking through a famous historical monument in your own city, and you suddenly discovered that it wasn't a memorial at all. It was an active, torturous prison cell.
It makes your skin crawl. They cover the bottle with Corvin's coat, and the Sibyl begins to speak. Her mind is incredibly fractured. She cycles through Latin, Greek, and languages older than both.
2.5 millennia in a bottle has stripped all sense of linear time from her. But through the madness, one question keeps repeating. She keeps asking, is Tarquin still below?
Think about the pure, concentrated hatred required to hold on to that one question for thousands of years.
It's her anchor.
Yeah. Ariane carefully tells her they think he is, and the Sibyl just laughs, a terrible sound in that small glass jar, and says, then nothing has changed.
They show her a photograph of Lake Avernus. The Sibyl presses her twisted hands to the glass and confirms that Shamash is still there, blocking the gate.
She remembers him.
Oh, vividly. Then she sees the palm leaves. She doesn't view them with reverence. She views them with furious ownership. My leaves, my breath, my Rome, she hisses.
Ariane asks her what she wants, and the Sibyl's answer is immediate and heartbreaking. To die.
That's all she wants.
And then she adds, and before that, to see him lose something. She wants Shamash to suffer.
But before they can figure out how to help her, Corvin spots movement. The mysteries of the Orient have arrived.
The cultists.
Yes. And the text points out something so true. They are well-dressed, which somehow makes them infinitely more sinister.
Oh, absolutely. Hoods and daggers are for amateurs. These guys look like lawyers attending the funeral of someone they hated.
Exactly. The leader steps forward with a polite smile and a drawn pistol, and we enter a tense standoff.
And the math here is bleak. 3 Nephilim, 5 armed fanatics, 1 incredibly fragile bottle, and a site full of innocent tourists right above them.
It's a bad situation.
Corvin calculates he could kill maybe 3 before the others fire. Arian could unleash magical fire, but the collateral damage would be catastrophic.
So, they yield to the math. The mysteries seize the bottle.
They just take her.
The leader points out that the Sibyl knows the way to their king. Arian warns them that the way to their king is the way of hell, and the leader just replies, those may not be different destinations.
That's a fanatic for you. The mysteries force the entire group to Lake Avernus. The lake is perfectly still. It looks less like a gate to the underworld and more like a giant eye pretending to be asleep.
They row out in a boat. The old cult leader holds a knife to the cloth, wrapping the bottle, forcing the Sibyl to chant.
She sings in a language older than the Roman roads, and the lake responds. A circle of foam appears. Miro looks over the edge and sees absolute absence.
A void.
A depth so profound, it removes the very concept of water from your mind.
The surface opens like a giant mouth, and the boat just drops. No whirlpool, just a terrifying plunge into pressure and silence.
And when they finally wake, they are on a shore beneath the earth. And this depiction of Hades is brilliant because of what it isn't.
Right. It isn't a fiery inferno.
Fire would be comforting because fire has direction. It consumes and moves on. This place is cold, vast, and fundamentally dishonest.
It's a luminous hell.
Yes. Everything glows with a sickly light. There are giant mushrooms as tall as trees releasing spores into the air.
And these spores are terrifying. They make your memories leak out of your skull and manifest in front of you.
How does that even work mechanically? Like, how is that happening?
Well, it's a psychic atmosphere. The underworld isn't just a physical location. It's a reactive environment that feeds on the consciousness of the living.
It's feeding on them.
Yes. The spores act as a catalyst, dissolving the barrier between internal memory and external reality.
The psychological assault is immediate. Miro sees his first death walking toward him. Corvin sees a woman he failed to save. Ariane hears the voice of the recently murdered Philodeme calling to her.
It's torment.
The landscape is littered with the dead, bodies on the black sand. But the worst part is the silence, the crushing scale of a place not built for humans.
The mysteries, however, recover quickly, armored by their fanaticism. They don't care about the horrors.
Right.
The Sibyls gives them directions deeper into the valley. They walk for hours. Time in Hades is oppressive. It doesn't blur. Every minute is heavy. Finally, they reach a valley of black reeds. In the center is a rock, and chained to that rock is Tarquin the Proud.
And here is the massive surprise. Tarquin isn't a skeleton. He looks 30 years old. He is broad-shouldered, strong, surrounded by the instruments of his daily torture hooks, a split crown, dried blood.
The leader of the mysteries falls to his knees, weeping, saying, "My king, Rome endures."
But Tarquin's response is bone-chilling. He opens his eyes, looks at this devoted follower, and says, no. Rome changes its masks. Does it obey?
That line is the ultimate insight from your sources about the psychology of tyrants.
It's so revealing.
He doesn't care about the endurance of the city or its people. He only cares if he still owns it.
The cult leader's face breaks. He has to admit, not yet. Tarquin begins to laugh. The laugh of a man who has lived with madness so long he's learned its manners.
Ariane looks at the hooks and chains and realizes something awful. She says, "You did this to yourself."
He tortured himself.
Yes. Tarquin demands to know who she is. She replies she's someone trying to decide whether to pity him. He sneers. "Pity is a small coin. I have no patience for copper."
Such a great piece of dialogue. Then the cultist mentions the Sibyl led them here. Tarquin sees the bottle, laughs, and says, "You live."
And the Sibyl fires back. "You too."
Tarquin asks the most important question, where is your lover's false city? She tells him it's still floating above the lake. Tarquin knows the exit is still blocked.
The old cult leader insists they can force their way through. Tarquin looks at him like an idiot child. He explains you cannot force the work of Shamash from inside the trap. The selenum is the lock on the door.
Corvin leans over to Ariane and whispers, "This is going well."
Classic Corvin.
A young cultist hears him and bashes Corvin in the head with a pistol. And that is the spark that blows the powder keg.
The shore erupts into messy, chaotic violence. Corvin breaks the young cultist's wrist and steals his gun. Miro throws black sand into another guy's eyes. Ariane speaks a word of power that draws a line of white fire in the air.
But the craziest part is Tarquin. The old cult leader runs toward the Sibyl's bottle to protect it. Tarquin suddenly pulls against its chains. The massive stone rock cracks.
He breaks them.
Everyone realizes Tarquin was never helpless. He had the strength to break those chains whenever he wanted.
This is a crucial psychological point. He stayed chained on purpose. He used the daily torture to measure time. Pain was his calendar.
Because without it,
Without that pain, immortality in the dark wasn't life, it was just an empty room. But now, he sees a chance at the door. He snaps his chains.
Tarquin steps down from the rock, walks over to the loyal old cultist who waited centuries to save him, takes the man's sword, and immediately cuts him down.
Kills him instantly.
Kills his most devoted follower without a second thought. Tarquin wipes the blood off the blade and coldly states, "He would have wanted me merciful. I am out of practice."
He has proven he is exactly the monster history remembered.
Absolutely.
With the king freed, they begin the journey back to the underground lake. Only 3 cultists are left alive, completely broken. They pile into the boat. The Sibyl begins the second chant.
The boat rises. Halfway up, the surface of Lake Avernus appears above them, but it's an inverted reflection. They look up and see the evening sky, the reeds on the shore.
It's the ordinary world, painfully close.
But between them and the surface, the blockade materializes.
The false city of Shamash. It hangs upside down above the water. A perfect, impossible paradise of white marble, colonnades, and Greek youths walking in eternal calm.
The Sibyl shudders and whispers, his memory of Cumae. That was the first lie.
At the center of this floating illusion stands Shamash. Barefoot, golden skin, beautiful in the unfeeling way, a marble statue is beautiful.
Tarquin raises his sword and demands he open the way. Shamash just looks at him and calls him discourteous. Tarquin yells, "I am a king!"
And Shamash delivers this crushing line, "You are a prisoner with an old title."
Oh, brutal.
Then Shamash turns his gaze to the bottle. His expression shifts to genuine pain. He says, "My Sibyl."
She reacts violently, snarling, "Do not call me yours." Shamash descends from his terrace, suddenly existing inside their boat.
His mere presence makes the Nephilim feel structurally insignificant.
Ariane tells him they want passage. Shamash asks what she wants. Ariane looks at the tortured woman in the bottle and says, "I want the story to stop feeding on her."
The Sibyl begins speaking to Shamash in the ancient language he first used to seduce her, they argue. And for a second, Shamash's control slips.
The illusion falters.
Yes, the illusion of the paradise flickers.
Yeah.
Every young man walking on the terraces suddenly turns and stares down at the boat, all wearing Shamash's face.
Then the Sibyl delivers the fatal emotional blow. She looks at the ancient demon and says, "You did not love me. You loved the moment before I understood you."
It's a devastating truth. Tarquin laughs and demands the gate be opened. But Shamash reveals the ultimate catch to Tarquin's immortality. He says, "You will die above."
Shamash explains that the Titan's bargain, the magic keeping Tarquin alive, ends at the surface of the lake. If Tarquin breaches the water, time will catch up to him instantly.
He has a choice. Stay an immortal prisoner in the dark, or return to the world and die.
And here we see the true nature of power. Tarquin says, "I was king of Rome." He makes his choice. He lifts his sword, steps past Shamash, and slits the throat of the very last living cultist. "My servants are done," he declares.
Power isn't about longevity. It's about agency. A king would rather have 10 seconds of absolute control than an eternity of being managed.
The boat bursts through the surface. They are back on Lake Avernus, under the real stars.
And for those first 10 seconds, Tarquin is magnificent. But then the surface world remembers how old he is. His skin cracks, he whispers no, and his mouth fills with dust.
He collapses, rapidly turning to ash. A gust of wind blows across the lake, and the last king of Rome scatters into the reeds.
Gone forever.
In the quiet aftermath, Shamash appears on the shore. His floating kingdom is gone. Ariane brings the bottle to the shore and tells Shamash to let the Sibyl go.
And Shamash admits he doesn't know how. He gave her immortality, but he never learned how to grant death.
The Sibyl laughs at him with absolute contempt. She tells him to break the bottle. Shamash hesitates, but the Sibyl says, "If you loved me at all, love the ending."
So he shatters the glass. A tiny, ruined body tumbles out onto the dirt.
But the face that emerges isn't a monster anymore. It's the face of the woman from the mountains. She has reclaimed her selfhood.
The Sibyl takes one breath, then a second.
And the third breath never comes. She finally gets to die.
Shamash stays kneeling in the dirt, profoundly bewildered. Corvin checks the black folder, and the ancient Greek letters on the palm leaves have completely faded away. They are totally blank.
Ariane says, "Some doors resent being mapped."
The Nephilim bury the Sibyl's tiny body on a wild hillside near Cumae, where you can hear the sea. Ariane buries the blank palm leaves in the soil above her.
It's a quiet funeral for one of the oldest women who ever lived.
They return to Naples that evening. Piazza Dante is bustling, the blood is gone, the immediate threat is over. Philodeme is dead, Tarquin is ash, the Sibyl is at rest.
But as the text reminds us, the gate isn't closed. Old gates don't close just because one story ends. It's just harder to find.
Ariane and Miro stand on their hotel balcony, looking out over the city lights toward the invisible crater of Avernus, listening to Naples continuing its chaotic, layered existence.
And if you are looking at the notes you sent us, it leaves us with this final thought. If we live in cities built on layers of mislaid histories, where ancient contracts can quietly bleed into the present, what else are we walking over every single day?
What other impossibilities are sleeping beneath the concrete, waiting for the right voice to call them back from the dark?
Watch your step.